Okay. It's late. We're late for our live stream. It's 6:33 p.m. We'll call the board meeting to order. Pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item up on the agenda is the adoption of minutes from January 16th. Can I get a motion to adopt the January 16th, 2025 minutes?
I'll move it. I'll second it.
Discussion. I looked over the minutes. Anybody else have any issues or anything to address? Seeing none, motion to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes, motion carried. Next item up on the agenda is citizens' comments. That microphone might not be, you might have to turn it on.
Oh, yeah.
Or switch
I
at the
gotta
top.
be technical here.
It's at the top.
Put her on the spot, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
First one out.
There you go.
Testing, can you hear me? Usually, I don't need a microphone usually.
Yeah.
Cindy Clark, 27 West Genesee Street, Baldwinsville. Just three short things. First of all, it's exciting because we've started, PAC is working with the town. We've started live streaming, is that correct? It's all, as you see it now, this is what you get. This is great. And hopefully it will go through seamlessly. Secondly, I wanted to voice my support for the Veterans Outreach. I think it's a real cheap enterprise to, $17 an hour, no insurance, no workman's comp, no nothing, and I think we have a need for it. And as long, it's being split between Lysander and Van Buren, and I just wanted to voice my support for that. And thirdly, I wanted to take a moment. I know everybody's, they are very familiar with the tragedy we had a couple weeks ago with the fire at Legacy Apartments, and I wanted to thank all those involved in helping out the victims. This community came together. It was amazing. Dina, I know, Falcone, our county clerk, did a lot on it. The Balls Volunteer Center, Superintendent DeBarbery from the high school, even one of the smoke shops in the village got involved. And I went down, they started at 2 o'clock on a Saturday, a couple Saturdays ago. I got there about 5-10 minutes after 2, and they must have had 50 bags of clothes and tables of toiletries already at that point. They were absolutely overwhelmed. I don't think anybody expected that kind of a response. So I'm humbled by this community yet again. We do have a wonderful community, and I know going forward, that there's some direction maybe to be given as far as what victims may do, what direction they can go in, maybe to pick up more items. I'm not sure. Maybe Dina, you can let us know about that too, if you know where you go from here as far as any more disposition of any of the supplies. But I just want to say thank you to our wonderful, wonderful community. We're very, very lucky, and I'll leave it to you, Dina, to let us know where they go from here, okay? Thank you.
And before anybody else speaks, I'm sorry, I forgot. We do have one additional motion to the agenda. It's to approve a budget modification to fund a parks project for $200,000 that we will be reimbursed for, in case anybody wants to speak or ask a question about that. Sorry. We discussed it at the work session. So, is there anyone else?
Dina going to say about the...
Oh, Dina, did you want to
go from here?
Well, I can, during my...
During your comment?
Yeah.
do your department head
I got
comments?
a couple little things.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jerry Martin with Timberbanks over on Upper River Road there. I've got a couple of questions regarding our development. Maybe you can give me some insight on. First of all, I think, Kevin, you were sent an email by our management company about
Yes, about the stop sign.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, just in case anybody was interested.
Yeah.
What happened there?
It faded off.
Faded.
Is that one of the original stop signs?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
the development's about 16, 17 years old now. So.
yes, and I pass it on. The highway department, even though it's a general funding, part, usually the highway department, we contract with town of Clay or other various places, and the highway department takes care of.
Yeah, I didn't know if
replacing
she
the signs.
submitted a photo or not. That just
Yeah.
that might help.
Thank you.
Just a couple other quick questions, and again, I don't know if you're going to have answers for or not, but we'll try. Their long-term development in timber banks, they're going to extend Forest Ridge Lane all the way over to Patchett Road, where the fire department is there. And I was wondering, we're hearing rumors about the entrance to Patchett Road. Rumor is that it's only going to be one way, either in or out. Obviously, we're interested in having it both ways there because it's going to cause more traffic from the development to go up Tall Tree, which it's going to be excess traffic going up to where the YMCA is there to get onto River Road. Just wondering, has anything been submitted to the town yet by the developer as far as that? Too far ahead?
I'll let the engineer go to this, but right now, we have nothing formal.
Pending?
You know, and I know our town engineer works for CHA, who
Yeah.
also works for Timber Banks, but Al can probably give generalizations on this.
At this point in time, there's no formal submission that has been made. Patchett Road is still, an unknown issue of where that goes. Right now, it is only approved as emergency ingress and egress for fire department access only.
Right, yeah, I'm assuming that if something is done with that for the timber banks, they're going to have to widen River Road, or not River Road, Patchett Road. So, I know there's more involved in it. I just didn't know how far down the road, that information was where we could get it, but it could be a while yet to take it.
I believe so.
Yeah, right now we've got 185 homes in timber banks, and supposedly there's room for like 600 and something, so we're not even halfway there yet, but people are starting to ask questions about,
Right, and
getting in and out.
not to interrupt you, but the original plan in 2004, I think it was only emergency access.
That's what-
When the
yeah,
dad-
it is.
Right, so it's,
But that's a long time ago, so.
right, yes. And that, when the area you're talking about, you're pretty far back and you have limited access to those in case there is an issue.
So GPP, is that what they call it? Or-
General project plan.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that probably mentioned emergency vehicles, yeah.
Yep.
All right. The streetlights on Summers Gate and Forest Ridge, any update on that, Al?
We're going to redo our streetlight maintenance contract this spring, and we're going to add in a line item to install new lights rather than trying to work with Hideaway and bid these things out. It's easier to put a line item in. This is what the cost for new cable is. This is what the cost for the light is. And it's then whenever they're needed, we just take contractor, go put the new light in. So
The board has to approve that before you can,
Correct.
any idea when that's going to go before the board?
we should have it ready to be rebid in this. Should be able to be able to rebid it in March.
March next?
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Okay, good. And then once that's done, then it'll be sort of
Yeah,
just a.
it'll be a
just
bunch of
contact the contractor.
contract National Grid, and we can go ahead and get it in.
Yeah, okay, all right. And then one other question about that too is that right now, the streetlights that are currently being installed in the past, we're always at an intersection with another street. Forest Ridge going from Timberbanks Parkway down to Chaltree is quite long. Is there any thought of putting at least one or two lights in between?
That's certainly something that the lighting district could request. It is not what we have done in other developments. Radisson is pretty much consistently, we've only lighted the intersections. In regards to that, there are other developments such as Collington Point that the residents wanted more lights than that. And, the town accommodated that request.
Okay, so if residents of Timberbank are in favor of putting a couple extra lights, who do we go to? Do we go to the town?
Write a letter to town supervisor.
Yeah, I'd prefer to get a letter from the HOA.
Okay, yeah.
In that case, like with Radisson, if Radisson wanted to request something, rather than maybe it's one neighbor, it's better to have the board support.
Yeah, it's been more than one, but Carleen and I are both on the board, as you know, so we're 2/5 of it right now. So.
Yeah, it's nice to have that paperwork from the HOA board. So when a neighbor says who asked for the light, your HOA.
Okay, and just one last quick question. We currently have 4 private streets in Timberbanks, And again, neighbors are asking if those eventually are going to be turned over to the highway department here in the town of Lysander. No?
I'm getting a lot
Yeah,
of
see a lot
nods
of
of
shaking
no
of heads, yeah.
across the various parts of the room where my department heads or
That's kind of what I thought.
officials sit.
Is there something in writing that the town has that says, what streets can and what streets can't be
The
taken?
the GPP spells that out.
The GPP disposal, okay, all right, so that was done originally, yeah, okay.
Correct.
Gotcha, okay, all righty, cool, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
I would just say a few words about the veteran outreach. As an Army mom, it's a cause close to my heart with a son, oldest son who currently serves. But I have to agree with Councilman Gerasi in the work session. We're letting Onondaga County off the hook a little too easily. And I think we don't wait, but I would hope supervisors could push advocacy. That we're in this situation where we're going to double fund because you're not making your services accessible. And potentially there could be a drop-in. Towns could take turns hosting a representative from that office in their office, and people could make appointments that way and not have to go out of their way. Any written materials they have, copies could be sent to the town, and you could get a rack, a magazine, or a shelf to make sure those are there for them. But Onondaga County has a responsibility to make these services accessible. You may lose that fight, and then we may revisit and decide that it's worth it to fund this important initiative. And it's not particularly expensive, but we may decide it. But I wouldn't let Onondaga County off the hook so quickly if they're failing to provide this service in the way that the veterans really need. Thank you.
Thank you. And just for everybody to understand, those conversations went no further than the supervisor's meeting. I don't want you calling your county legislator. Well, Supervisor Rhodes said, no, I didn't ask the county, I didn't even ask our county legislator because I walked into this thinking, well, Salina's already got one, so that has probably been, and shame on me for not following that process. But, that's where I started with this, and that's my narrow-mindedness of looking at the problem. So that's, I'm learning, as I sit here 14 months in. Thank you.
Fred Birch, Plainville Road. I'd like to talk about some topics that were brought up at the previous meeting and something that's on the work schedule tonight. Recently, we had hires in this building, and I think that the board or you made mention when you hired them, you looked at how much they were making, and then you talked to some friends or people that you knew over in Van Buren and saw that what we were offering was a little bit less than the jobs were over there. Do you remember what?
There's very few positions that aren't under collective bargaining agreements,
Okay.
but like
Okay.
the assistant tax receiver was
Okay.
at a lower pay than
Okay,
most
that's
towns.
good. So it gave me an idea how you reached out to the other towns, to compare and contrast. And so when you brought up the thing about the appointed position, or as far as the highway is concerned, I got an idea. Hey, why don't I call Van Buren or all the other towns? So I foiled the informational meeting minutes for the last 4 years from every single town in Onondaga County, Cayuga County, and Oswego County to find out what various positions paid, have been paid, MEOs get paid. And I also had the opportunity to speak with every single supervisor from those 3 counties, every single town clerk, and roughly about a third of the highway superintendents. And my main focus was to try to discern whether they were had appointed or elected position for highway superintendent. And what I found was interesting. I remember Mr. Gerasi said something at the last meeting about how even Onondaga County does outreach and looks for some people in their highway department. I said, how many towns do that? So I found one in Onondaga County, none in Oswego County, and none of the towns in Cayuga County. The one town in Onondaga County that has an appointed highway superintendent is the town of Clay. Every single other town in the 3 counties has elected. And I spoke with Charles, who's the supervisor of Cato, And I said, he said, made mention to me, Fred, if you call every town in New York State, you're going to find that 99% of them are elected. And there's a reason for that. It's bottom line, it comes down to nepotism and favoritism and who's in charge of the board right now and whether that's one of their guys and whether he's got to carry water for them. And I said, stop right there. I know exactly what you're talking about. Last year, I had made mention to the board about an appointment that you had that I thought, was dropping some passes every time we were passing to him, with respect to the park superintendent. And after I had made my argument for a couple of meetings, I had left this building and went out in the parking lot. And Councilor Kudarakis followed me out there. There was about 7 or 8 other people around there. And he came up to me and he said, Fred, why are you doing this? And I said, what are you talking about? He's like, Kevin, he's a good guy. And I said, well, it's not about that. It's
So is this, Fred, are you going to get to the point?
I get to the point. So I said, well, hey, look, Jeff, he's using the town parks truck as his own family Volkswagen. Here's a couple pictures that I've got that they given to me by town employees that show his family being scooted around in the
Yeah,
town
we've
truck.
heard this before, so.
I've never said this at a meeting, to which Jeff replied, so what? He can do that. And thankfully, I had the town employee handbook open up to the page with the rules. And I showed it to Jeff, and Jeff read the rules that he didn't know. And he said, Fred, why are you doing this? I'm the one who's looking after you. The rest of them are after you. And I said, well, who are you talking about? And he pointed at the town building, and I said, who? And he goes, the board. And I go, for what? And he goes, for that house on your property, the old rundown house. And I go, so what? He goes, well, they're going to condemn that. And I go, so what? Let them condemn that. He said, you don't understand. That's going to cost you a lot of money. And I said, okay, I can see what this is getting to. So the next day, I got a call from a town employee that said, hey, you might want to foil communication between the zoning department and the town board, which I did. And I found out there was one person who was interested in doing that. And his name was Jeff Kudarakis. None of the other, remember I asked you at a town board meeting to raise your hands if you had communication?
It's fine.
And also, let's remember, we're not personally attacking you.
Okay. So that's an example of how an appointed employee can break the town rules, but if he's in favor with the people who are in charge, they look the other way. Whereas if you have an appointee that maybe it's Rocky Road, and then you snap your finger like that. So I'll follow that up with, the very next day after that, I had a conversation with somebody who's very high in the clerk's office. And it was about that topic.
You got a minute.
And the conversation, what was said to me, and I'm paraphrasing, is that in their opinion, town employees on the public dole should absolutely reside in the town they serve. And that was about the topic that he didn't live in the town that he served and the taxpayers were paying. But the conversation was about not only every appointed position, and every elected obviously, but everybody who's hired. In their opinion, somebody very high up in that position, that everybody should live in the town, because then you have a vested interest. And I know like Al and our town attorney don't live in the town, and that's fine. But I think as long as their paychecks are being cashed, they probably don't care too much. If they lived in the town, like former engineers and attorneys that we have, maybe they have a little bit more vested interest in whether that should be.
Fred, I'll cut you off there because I've given you your 5 minutes. But I will say this. When those laws were made 100 or so years ago from New York State, it was the idea that, yes, that person who was elected or sat here as a lawyer would have their town's best interest at hand.
Sure.
We can also show you how many articles of people stealing money with their town's or fire department's best interest at hand. How about the Vernon Center secretary or treasurer that was just in the paper today? $300,000 over 5 years stolen from his friends.
You can find examples on both sides.
So you can, exactly. So you can make accusations for electeds having the same issues as appointeds. What this elected versus appointed isn't because I want a certain person. This is because I was in a situation where it would have been me in 2 days. And as Mr. Reeves, if he was on live stream, I probably would have been at that point. It's about putting the right people in the job, in the position they're in. I think our comptroller, who doesn't live in the town, has done a great job
I agree.
walking in.
I agree.
So you can't lump it all in, and I'm not gonna wait for New York State to, finally get with the times or 40 other towns. I mean, I think your example of the town of Clay, they got 60,000 people. They're a city. There's a reason it's appointed. And, when you're overseeing that much work and you have 40 or 45 department heads or employees for your department, it's not necessarily you're going to find that person in town. We have posted the ad because Mr. Reeves said when he started, I'm helping you out
I understand.
currently. This isn't a long-term fix. I'll be here if you need me. We placed the ad in the paper. It's on our website. And we'll see at the end of the month how many people in the town of Lysander actually contact me to have an interview for a currently elected job. And I'm going to tell you, I can count them on one hand, and I'm probably going to be able to take a couple fingers off this hand in March, because that's how many people are going to want the
Well,
job.
I agree with a lot of things that you said, but there wasn't a mandate for, you didn't talk about any of that stuff. Obviously, it happened after you were elected, but you didn't talk about those things before you were running for office. And Lysander, Clay is a lot.
No, because the situation comes up and then you address it. And did you ask every town that you talked to, did they have a deputy?
I did. That's
Do
what-
they have a
so,
contingency
Will
plan
you give
if
me
they
another
don't?
minute or two to do
Sure.
that? Right? Okay.
I'd love to.
So I also did the search, whether they had deputy supervisor or not, and I found out that in the instance that they do, every single town supervisor was the highway supervisor was the one who nominated the deputy super, and then it was approved by the board. The board didn't choose it. And
That's
like,
the least
so
that's
since the
required.
last time we had a deputy highway superintendent, the last time we had a deputy highway superintendent,
Fred, you're addressing the board.
Bruce fired him. Okay, so
And we haven't had one in almost 20
in
years.
2011, Bruce fired him for cause, and that's the last one that we had. It didn't work out for him. But there were 6 towns that had a deputy highway superintendent. And other towns could choose if they wanted one or not. It's just that the highway superintendent didn't choose. The other thing I looked up was, pay scale. And I found out up until...
We'll discuss it at the next meeting with your next 5 minutes.
Okay, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Are there any other citizens wishing to make a comment tonight? Seeing none, we will move on to the next item, town board comments. Councilor Moore, start with you.
Sure. I've sat up here for several years. I have mentioned many times about how fortunate I feel to be part of this community. And sometimes it takes tragedy to really highlight how fortunate we are. And in this case, of course, the fire that Cindy Clark brought up. So many people just stepped up immediately. So many volunteer organizations. I would like to thank them all. Too many to mention. Individuals who came and bought and gave goods for these families. The first responders, and again, dozens. First responders showed up to this community. And then the school district and the volunteer center. My phone was going off, just ringing off the hook, just because I happen to be part of the town, the school, and a volunteer organization. So my phone was very busy. But it just reminds me how fortunate we are, and I want to thank everyone from the individuals who stepped up to the plate, to the volunteer organizations, to the first responders, to just everybody. And my heart goes out to the people who lost their homes and their belongings. Thank goodness for Rocky the dog. Aside from that, thank you for coming, thank you for watching, and I'll move on.
Yeah, it's just incredible, the outpouring of support from this community. So I think enough's been said on that. It's a good feeling to be able to live here. I'd also, on a different subject, like to extend my appreciation for Mr. Reeves taking over the helm of a department that hasn't seen snow in the last several years, but he got all of it this year. So I appreciate that, Bruce, very much. So good job, and your crew, obviously.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you again for Bruce for stepping up. And, unfortunately, we had one of your long-term MEOs retired, 38 years of service. So I'd like to say congratulations to Steve Powers and your retirement. Thank you for all that you've done for the town of Lysander.
Okay. Turn my mic on, I'm not sure if I need it. Just want to remind people, tax receiving, after January 31st, so you'll be paying a penalty unless you've already put it in the mail, and it's going to show up late with a postmark. 9 to 3:30 are the hours of the window. There is a drop box out front, 24 hours a day. All we would request is name, phone number, and the property address you're paying, just in case you didn't write it on the check or didn't include your tax bill. Highway Department, please remember to keep your trash cans behind your mailboxes. It's been a terrible year. I know that most people probably put their trash out in the morning, and the way the snows come, because it just won't come for us at like 9 o'clock at night till 1 o'clock in the morning to be easy to clean up by 5 or 6. Keep your keep your trash cans behind your mailboxes. And another thing I saw driving around the town, I didn't think would be a big problem in the winter. People with basketball hoops, please move them back from the road in the winter. I've seen some that actually take the hoop and the frame off and leave that there. Still not a great idea. Move that back behind your mailbox, or that might be laying sideways in your yards or your next neighbor's yard. That's not just for our plows, but for the fire trucks that come through. These vehicles, some of them are 8, 9, 10 feet tall, and they will catch that basketball hoop. That's something we've talked about repeated times. I know kids love to play basketball, but in the winter, you should probably keep that off of the side of the road. Next item is, I had talked with the citizens' comments. The ad for the highway supervisor will be in the messenger probably next week. It's already online with the Post Standard, and it is on our Facebook page. On our website, Town of Lysander, it's under, you can go to contact and careers.
It's also under notices. I have.
Yes, so it's over here, job posting, highway superintendent. It's got the information there, a little PDF. You can email me, and then also at our homepage, once it takes a minute to load, the town clerk who usually manages the website, she's put it in the important notices. So anybody wanting to currently run for highway superintendent or interview for the job to pick up, if Mr. Reeves will be part of the interviewing group, so you've already got a tough crowd. High Standard is going to be there for who we're looking to be the next person to help us. And the board members will also fall in on the interview process. The other things I have, thank you to all the first responders with the fire over in Van Buren, and all the people who supported and helped, the amount of donations, gift cards. I know the Volunteer Center, which is part of the staffing's here. The town clerk ran her own drive. The school district collected tons of stuff. Thank you. It shows you what a great community this really is. People in their time of need. I know that since we've been gone, the big chill happened. I did not get a chance to get down there. Hope everything was great. It was definitely cold enough. I don't know how many people jumped in this year, but I didn't get down there. And then are we in the second week of dining weeks? Or is dining weeks all done? This is the second week of dining weeks? Okay, so Beeville Dining Weeks, check on Facebook. Do they have a website? I'm asking the audience. I think they do. You can look at the 14, I believe, businesses, restaurants that are doing special menus for dining weeks. Go check them out. It's always nice to help support a local business in the winter time of year when they're a little bit slower than normal. Other than that, we will go to department head reports. Starting with you, town attorney.
Nothing at this time.
Okay. Town engineer.
Just an update on the Parks parking lot extension project. Trolley, or Gasnella Excavation, did the box out and placed the majority of the sub base. Probably 1 day of work left for them in the spring. The Pop Warner shed was frozen to the ground, so we had to leave that in place for now and move it in the spring. The stone that we need to finish the job up is pretty much over there. Right now we're under budget by about $20,000. That project is moving along nicely.
I'm going to skip back to, I always skip the highway superintendent because he likes to sit out in the audience. Mr. Reeves, do you have anything tonight?
No, nothing.
Thank you. Thank you for all the work you've done. I know you jumped into the job, and as Mr. Gerasi alluded to, I think you've gotten to work every day. That's got to be so rewarding. I appreciate you answering my call, because that would have been me.
That's a mistake.
Okay, back to the town. Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Town clerk, Ms. Falco.
We bought him a little nameplate there too. Should we put it back on the chair for the next time? So Cantonwood Senior Center is looking for a senior rec leader. I also put that job advertisement on the website, so reach out to them if you're interested. Home Team Pub is coming here to Radisson, where Potter's Pub was, and they applied for their liquor license, and that's pending opening, so they're going through all that entire process. A few weeks ago, I gave a little blurb on basically how much money the town clerk's office took in, but I neglected to tell people about the DEC we take in for conservation. So that's hunting licenses, fishing, any conservation license. So we took in $17,272.42, and our portion of that was $916.58. So I think what
Well, you got to print it on your own paper this year, right?
Yes.
Because they went to the paper.
What they're trying to do is get people to get their licensing online. They want more and more people, but I still hope people come in and do it because, we don't mind doing it. I think clerks are moving away from that, but I have no intention of doing that. Also, Cindy Clark had asked about the donations for the fire. So basically, I went through everything on a weekend. I had a lot of help from the town employees. I want to thank everybody for pitching in and doing so much for these poor victims of the fire. We collected clothes and housewares and gift cards, and we distributed everything. If anybody needs anything else or if they want to donate, they can contact me or the Volunteer Center. I put away a lot of things for the Veterans Outreach. So I've been speaking with Veterans Outreach for the Ballsville area, and he's actually coming tomorrow to take a bunch of clothes. He said there's a really big need in the town of Lysander. There's a lot of veterans who won't leave their homes, who actually need a lot of things. So we spoke at length about that over the week. So I think that's it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
And, just because I had talked in the work session, I had said the highway super elected appointed. We haven't heard back from Board of Elections on the time frame on that. So until...
We have reached out to them, and we're going to work it and make it happen for the board if that's the board's will.
Right. So we should have more information at the next meeting. Just
Yes,
wanted
we
to
will.
cover that. Okay, next item is on to the regular agenda items. Motion A, I'd like to get a motion to authorize the supervisor to sign the contract drawings and BSP 5 for the Drake's Landing apartment project as recommended in the town engineer's letter dated February 4th, 2025.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Discussion. Town engineer, would you like to cover this?
It's really the only infrastructure that we are taking dedication of is the water main crossing and the sewer main crossing of Drake's Landing. Everything else will be privately owned in this project.
Okay, I just put it up on the screens and, side note, and since the last meeting, we've had part of our ARPA AV project done. We have added 3 new monitors to the boardroom. We've added microphones for the department heads and the board members. The next step will be wireless access points to help PAC-B or Zoom meetings in this room. This room's the furthest from our older access point, so it sometimes gets a little sketchy. We're gonna get this building back up and running for more robust meetings or, virtual meetings with hopefully our elected officials maybe at higher levels to be able to come in and do town halls or other presentations. So some of that's changed if you haven't seen us since the last month. That being said, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, all approved. Motion D, I'd like to get a motion to reduce the punch list security requirement for the Longview at Radisson project to $20,000 as recommended by the town engineer's letter dated February 5th, 2025.
I'll move it. I'll second it.
Discussion. Town engineer again. Yeah.
They put the top course of the pavement on that section of the road this fall. And it is complete and appropriate to release the punch list funding for that item.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Aye. All in favor. Motion C, I'd like to get a motion to authorize the town supervisor to sign the polling price agreement for 2020, from 2025 through 2029.
I'll move it.
Who's?
I moved it. You move it, and then I'll second it.
There you go.
The polling place agreement, I don't know if I put it up here on the board, but it's a 5-year agreement with the Board of Elections to make this polling location, and it's just the boilerplate legal requirement for them to make sure we have a bathroom and it's accessible. I know one of our next projects moving forward will be to get an accessible door on this entrance for wheelchair people. Currently, usually someone stands at the door to let people in and out. That should help the accessibility, and I think Town of Lysander Town Hall, it's pretty centrally located, so it really serves a great purpose for the voting primaries and general election. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All yes. Motion D, I'd like to get a motion to authorize the town supervisor to sign the 2025 Canton Woods Senior Center agreement.
I will move that.
I will second it.
Discussion. As we had talked in the work session, this is to bring it up to speed for 2025. Not much has really changed. We just changed some of the language in it a little bit. And moving forward, we should hopefully see some different things with this moving forward between the towns and the village for the benefit of the community. Hopefully by this late summer, early fall to get buttoned up by next budget season. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Motion E, I'd like to get a motion to authorize the town supervisor to sign the operations agreement for Baldwinsville Little League.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion. Again, this is an agreement that we've passed for many years. There were some changes this year with Baldwinsville Little League and the Village of Baldwinsville because it is a village park. Both towns, Lysander and Van Buren, are part of the agreement. We are pretty much there, mostly in name only, unless there's some kind of in-kind services. They ask for requests from both towns. So the village and the Little League was in agreement with this, so this is just a pass-through for the boards. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Motion F, I think we'll table that for right now. We'll probably come back to it either at the next meeting or next month. No harm, no foul so far. Nothing's been done on the Lysander end, and Van Buren won't even be close to their expenditures. So we will table F. Motion G, I'd like to get a motion to declare the following items from the Highway Department surplus. 2014 International 4x2 plow dump model 7500 FSA 4x2 with the VIN number. It goes by truck 29 in our equipment inventory. And the 1991 AT Mobile M8 model sweeper. It has definitely served its life expectancy here, 34 years in.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion. Both these items were brought up by the highway superintendent. The truck, the 2014 truck is one of our older model trucks, and it was just one of the ones time-wise and repair cost-wise. It was decided to pull the box off that truck and sell the chassis for whatever we can get for it. And the street sweeper has done as much as it can do for the town of Lysander, so we'll send that along down the road to probably a scrapyard, maybe. Not sure what else it can do. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes. And one more, the additional motion. Motion E. Can I get a motion to approve the following budget modification? $200,000 from account A0-00912-00 unrestricted fund balance to account A0-07110-401 Parks Contractual Projects. These funds will be reimbursed upon completion of the Ninja Course Playground expansion at Lysander Park through New York State Crest Grant of $200,000.
I'll second it.
Discussion. This came up after our budget season. It was a grant that we had secured in 21-22 from Senator Mannion. He was leaving office, so for this to not end up at the back of Senator May's bus of appropriations and start a process over, we had to think fast and quick before the middle of December of what we could do with the money and what we could do to better the park. So this project was brought to the head by our Parks Director, and the engineer and the Parks Director worked fast and furiously on the budgeting for this, and we have to show the state to get the Crest Grant where we're coming up with the money. The remainder of the funds are already expensed in various budget lines in our budget, but the $200,000, which is reimbursable, so when we spend the money, we submit it to the state, we'll get it back, and the money will go back into our unrestricted fund balance account where it currently sits. So we need to show for Crest Grant purposes where the money's coming from. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All approved, motion carried. I don't believe there's a reason for an executive session tonight. Can I get a motion to end the meeting at 7:15?
I'll move that. I got a question for you.
Oh, Mr. Reeves.
Can I get an okay on that sweeper or not?
Yes, you're fine. Budget-wise, we have the money. The board said yes. I don't, I got their word.
I wasn't sure if they committed to it or not.
Yes.
Yes. Yep, they did.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I'm sorry, it was Mr. Grassi, Mr. Moore. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening. Drive safe.